Hey, good morning, students. I just wanted to take a couple minutes here to walk you through our guided notes for today. Our topic will be on natural selection. About 9 quick slides here. There is a guided note for you to work through on your in through Canvas, as well as a small little game for you to play in regards to peppered moss. We'll talk about that in just a couple minutes. So I'm going to start off with this quote right here by Charles Darwin. It says, "It is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change." Okay, and that's going to be a big theme that we're going to talk about for the rest of this week. So let's continue on with what natural selection is. Okay, natural selection is a process of elimination, okay, of removal. Organisms that have traits that are best adapted for the current environment are the ones that survive to breed and pass on their genes to the next generation, causing a change in the overall population. Organisms not possessing the beneficial trait either die or don't have as many offspring. Natural selection is survival of the fittest. Biological fitness, by definition, is the ability of an organism to survive and reproduce. Okay, so if we go back to our first little slide, okay, it is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the most responsive to change. And we can see that there are some guidelines that natural selection follows. Okay? As we go along, there are four main points of natural selection. Okay, number one, genetic variation. Variation is a topic that we have talked about a lot over the past couple minutes. It's just the differences from person to person. So, in natural selection, genetic variation is present in the population and it is inherited, meaning it is passed from parents to offspring. Okay? There's a couple of ways in which mutations can occur. This can occur in changes in DNA through mutations. When we make those gametes, variation can also happen there, but also the idea of random mate selection. Okay, we can see that perhaps maybe a green beetle can mate with a yellow beetle, or a green beetle could mate with another green beetle. Okay, but we can see over here in this population, clearly there is genetic variation. Right, there's differences in size, differences in colors. Just to list a few. Okay? The second thing that has to happen for natural selection to occur is that living things overproduce offspring, meaning that they make more offspring that can survive within a population. So not all are going to survive. Okay? Over time, we're going to get a competition for limited resources. One of the most common limited resources, quite frankly, is just food. If there's not enough to support the population, then some are going to have to die. Okay? Otherwise, we can see over here, let's say that this bird is actually competing for resources. It can clearly see, hey, it prefers the green bugs over the yellow bugs, right? Which means the yellow bugs, okay, they are fittest, or they are, in this case, they have that fitness, okay? They are not the strongest, not the most intelligent, but they are the ones most equipped to survive their environment, okay? So again, we can see over time, notice how our green bugs are no longer present. And that is just evolution by natural selection. Okay? Those that are better equipped to survive will be able to survive as well as reproduce. Okay, here's another way to look at this. Let's look at giraffes. Okay, so again, 4 steps. Number one, each species shows variation. We can see in these giraffes, one is very tall, one is very short. Number two, there is competition within each species for food, space, water, mates, etc. So these two individuals are going to compete. Okay, the organism that is better adapted to their environment, they are more likely to survive. Right? That again is that survival of the fittest. The survivors will pass on their better genes to their offspring, who will also show this beneficial variation. Right? We can see this here. Higher neck, the giraffes are able to get food. Those without the adaptation for longer neck, they are no longer going to survive. Okay? 4 steps of natural selection. All right, just as a callback, let's refresh an adaptation. So an adaptation is a change or the process of change by which an organism or species becomes better suited to its environment. Okay? Some types of adaptations are camouflage, there's mimicry, there's antibiotic resistance, all things that we spent some time discussing. Right here we can see camouflage down here. Very cool. We can see mimicry between these snakes. And then, of course, I don't have antibiotic resistant, but that was that last question we had on our test. All right, 2 more slides coming up here. Again, one other place to look at these 4 steps if you're interested in it. Again, we have overproduction. Species produce more individuals than can survive. We have some kind of variation we can see between sizes and color, right? Those that are better equipped to survive their environment, right? This is selection, but by natural means, right? And then those adaptations, those stronger traits, will then be able to be passed on to the next generations. Okay? There are a couple of things that we can see that led to the theory of evolution by natural selection. And number one, again, back to Charles Darwin, as he went to the Galapagos Islands. And he noticed that between the islands, okay, that Darwin noticed that the different islands all seem to have their own slightly different varieties of animals. In this case, he focused on the finch. Every single one of these finches, okay, they have been adapted to survive in their population. Okay, they have the particular beak structure in order for them to survive. Okay? And these species all became different species over time, right? And that is just evolution by natural selection. These organisms were better suited to survive where they were at. Okay. If we notice here, what is so different about these finches? Okay. Hopefully we're looking at it and we can clearly see that their beaks are very different. Some are for grabbing insects, some are for eating rodents, some of them are for breaking open fruits or nuts. Okay. Just different environments need different adaptations. And these finches, although they're very similar, if you look at them far away, they're very different. All right, so on to today's assignment. We are going to look at natural selection within peppered moths. We choose peppered moths because this happened relatively quickly. In about 50 years, we were able to collect enough data to see how the coats of these moths changed. Okay, so a couple background information here is the light-colored form was the predominant form in England prior to the Industrial Revolution. Okay, so the light-colored moths were more predominant. There were more white or light-colored moths. Around the middle of the 19th century, the darker form began to appear. It was first reported in 1848, and 50 years later, about 98% of the moths in England, they were of the dark variety. Okay? So we're going to explore how that happened. Think Industrial Revolution, connect it back to your history classes here. What were we doing in that time? Okay? So I hope that was some good information. Thank you for taking notes. Continue scrolling down on this paper and you will be able to see your assignment. Make sure you're following the links, playing the game, recording your data, and thank you for your time. Bye.